When approaching an uncontrolled intersection, a driver should A. Maintain their speed and proceed. B. Stop at the intersection, check in all directions, and proceed. C. Yield to all other drivers. D. Be prepared to yield. D. Be prepared to yield. At an intersection where there is no stop sign or traffic signal, you should yield to a vehicle approaching the intersection from the right. However, always be prepared to yield to avoid a crash. Do this by taking your foot off the accelerator, covering the brake, and looking left, right, and left again. If you are driving in another driver's blind spot, you should A. Move forward or drop back so the other driver can see you. B. Keep a steady pace. C. Stay in the driver's blind spot. D. Honk to let them know you are there. A. Move forward or drop back so the other driver can see you. Do not drive in someone else's blind spot. Move forward or drop back so that the other driver can see you. What does a single dashed yellow line separating traffic mean? A. Drivers may pass if it is safe to do so. B. Both lanes travel in the same direction. C. Drivers may not pass. D. Drivers may pass, even if it could be dangerous. A. Drivers may pass if it is safe to do so. Yellow lines separate traffic moving in opposite directions. A single dashed yellow line in the center of a road indicates that vehicles traveling in both directions are permitted to pass. Drivers may only begin a pass if they will not interfere with any oncoming traffic. You must stop at a railroad crossing when A. Directed to do so by a flagger. B. It is controlled by a stop sign. C. Flashing red signals and gates are present and operating. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger or stop sign. Stop when flashing red signals and gates are present and operating.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
When approaching railroad tracks, you should A. Look, listen, slow down, and be prepared to stop. B. Speed up to cross the tracks before the gate is lowered. C. Try to drive around a lowered gate. D. Not pay attention to how many tracks there are to cross. A. Look, listen, slow down, and be prepared to stop. When approaching railroad tracks, you should look, listen, slow down, and be prepared to stop for trains or other vehicles that may be using the rails. Larger vehicles have A. Larger blind spots. B. Smaller blind spots. C. No blind spots. D. The same blind spots as smaller vehicles. A. Larger blind spots. The larger the vehicle, the larger the blind spots. Large trucks and SUVs have spots close to their rears that cannot be seen in their side or rearview mirrors. When changing lanes, you should A. Rely on your mirrors. B. Begin signaling as you move into the next lane. C. Signal at least 500 feet before your lane change when driving on residential streets. D. Always check your blind spot. D. Always check your blind spot. Other cars and motorcycles are often hidden in a vehicle's blind spot, so be sure to glance over your shoulder before you begin a lane change. Begin signaling 100 feet before changing lanes or turning in a residential area. Signal 5 seconds in advance when changing lanes on a freeway. A speed restriction sign. A. May be ignored in rainy, snowy, or icy conditions. B. Has a triangular shape. C. Is blue with black lettering. D. Shows a recommended speed for a curve or turn. D. Shows a recommended speed for a curve or turn. Curve and turn warning signs often have attached advisory speed signs that show a recommended driving speed for drivers in the curves and turns. Although a driver may feel comfortable driving at a higher speed in fair weather, they should never do so under rainy, snowy, or icy conditions. You may drink alcoholic beverages in a vehicle on a public highway. A. As long as you aren't driving. B. If you are riding in the back seat. C. If you are riding in the back of a pickup truck. D. Under no circumstances. D. Under no circumstances. It is against the law to consume or possess any alcoholic beverage while on a public road or sidewalk. Additionally, storing an open alcoholic beverage container in an area of a motor vehicle normally occupied by the driver or passenger is prohibited on any public road. This road sign means A. Divided highway begins. B. A steep grade is ahead. C. The overpass ahead has a low clearance. D. 2 lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions are about to merge. C. The overpass ahead has a low clearance. This sign warns that the overpass ahead has a low clearance. Do not proceed if your vehicle is taller than the height indicated, in this case 13 feet 6 inches. Traffic signals sometimes display arrows to control turns from specific lanes. A solid red arrow, A, is never used as a traffic signal. B, has the same meaning as a circular red traffic light. C, means that drivers may turn in the direction indicated by the arrow. D, means that the traffic the arrow is pointing toward must stop. B, has the same meaning as a circular red traffic light. A solid red arrow in a traffic signal means the same thing as a circular red traffic light. When an arrow is red, traffic in the indicated lane must stop and may not turn in the direction that the arrow is pointing. If you miss your exit on an interstate expressway, A, stop and make a U-turn. B, get off at the next exit and come back to the exit you missed. C, roll down your window and ask the driver next to you for help. D, back up on the highway. B, get off at the next exit and come back to the exit you missed. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up or try to turn around on the highway. Go to the next exit and safely turn around. The act of turning your head and checking your blind spot before changing lanes, driving away from a curb, or merging your vehicle into traffic is A, a bad driving habit. B, a good driving habit. C, unnecessary. D, not necessary if you use the rearview mirror. B, a good driving habit. When changing lanes, it is important to check your blind spots. Do this by looking over your shoulder toward the next lane. Do not rely only on your mirrors. You may drive around the gates at a railroad crossing. A, When the train has passed. B. Under no circumstances. C. When the lights have stopped flashing. D. When other drivers drive around the gates. B. Under no circumstances. You are required to stop at all railroad crossings when signals warn of an approaching train. These signals may include flashing red lights, a lowered crossing gate, a flagger signaling, or a train's audible signal of warning. Do not attempt to go around a lowered gate. Drivers should use hand-over-hand steering. A. When turning the wheel during normal driving activity. B. When avoiding a hazard at a high speed. C. When turning the wheel at low speeds. D. When backing, activating signals, turning on the radio, or activating windshield wipers. C. When turning the wheel at low speeds. Use hand-over-hand steering to turn while driving at low speeds, such as when turning at an intersection or when parking your vehicle. To begin, your left hand should grasp the steering wheel between 8 and 9 o'clock and your right hand should grasp the wheel between 3 and 4 o'clock. To safely pass a bicycle, you should A. Honk at the bicyclist to let them know you're trying to pass. B. Drive in the bicycle lane until you get a chance to pass. C. Slow down and give them as much space as possible. D. Rush ahead to pull in front of the bicyclist. C. Slow down and give them as much space as possible. When passing a bicyclist, slow down and give them as much space as you can. Bicyclists have much less protection than drivers of motor vehicles and they should not be crowded. Passing a bicycle too quickly can shift the bicyclist off course. When you are in a line of traffic that is crossing a railroad track that has no signals or gates. A. You have the right of way and do not need to check for trains. B. You may pass slower drivers while crossing the track. C. You need to make sure there is space for your vehicle to get all the way across the tracks without stopping. D. All of the above. Which of the following lights indicates that you should slow down and proceed with caution at an intersection? A. A flashing yellow light. B. A flashing red light. C. A solid yellow light. D. A solid red light. A. A flashing yellow light. A flashing yellow traffic light at an intersection indicates that drivers must slow down, proceed with caution, and be prepared to stop. Is it legal cross a double solid yellow centerline to pass? A. Yes. B. No. C. If there is no oncoming traffic. D. If the vehicle ahead of you is driving under the speed limit. B. No. Two solid yellow lines down the center of a two-way road mean that neither lane of traffic may cross the lines, unless they are turning off of the roadway. A driver can cross double yellow lines when turning into or out of a driveway or entrance to a business. No passing is allowed over a solid yellow line. If you are driving so slowly that traffic is backing up behind you, you should A. Decrease your speed. B. Pull off the right side of the road and let traffic pass. C. Not let the other cars pass your vehicle. D. Use your four-way flashers. B. Pull off the right side of the road and let traffic pass. Driving more slowly than the flow of traffic can be hazardous. If you are on a two-lane, two-way road and driving so slowly that traffic is backing up behind you, you are required to pull off the road and let the other vehicles pass. Only drive significantly under the speed limit when conditions require it. When parking your vehicle downhill on a two-way street. A. Turn your wheels to the right. B. Turn your wheels to the left. C. Keep your wheels pointed straight ahead. D. Leave your transmission in neutral. A. Turn your wheels to the right. When you park on a downward-facing slope, turn your wheels sharply toward the side of the road. This way, if your vehicle starts to roll downhill, it will roll away from traffic. What is the meaning of the D in the SIPDE acronym? A. Defensive driving. B. Decide on a safe action. C. Dodge. D. Doubt. B. Decide on a safe action. The D in the SIPDE acronym stands for Decide on a Safe Action. Decide on the safest action to take when an unexpected hazard appears. Anything that requires you to fill in the blank could cause you to crash. A. Take your eyes off the road. B. Take your hands off the wheel. C. Take your attention away from the task of driving. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Anything that causes you to take your attention away from driving, take your eyes off the road, and/or take your hands off the wheel is a distraction. When approaching a railroad crossing, you should A. Slow down. B. Look for a train. C. Be ready to stop. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When you see any signs indicating a nearby railroad crossing, you should slow down, look for a train, and be ready to stop. If the red warning lights are flashing or the gate is down, you must stop 15 to 50 feet before the railroad tracks. Do not try to go around the gate. Two solid white lines painted across a traffic lane show the boundaries of a crosswalk. As a driver, you should know that A. Motor vehicles have the right of way over pedestrians in crosswalks. B. When pedestrians are in crosswalks, they should be given the right of way. C. No one has the right of way in a crosswalk. D. Pedestrians are responsible to stay out of the way of all traffic. B. When pedestrians are in crosswalks, they should be given the right of way. Crosswalk lines show pedestrians where to safely cross a road or street. Crosswalks may be marked by horizontal lines, vertical lines, or a combination of the two. You must always stop for pedestrians who are in a crosswalk. If you want to get off the freeway but you have missed your exit, you should A. Go to the next exit. B. Make a U-turn through the median. C. Pull onto the shoulder and back your car to the exit. D. Flag down a police officer for an escort back to your exit. A. Go to the next exit. If you miss your exit, you should take the next exit. Do not stop or back up on the highway, swerve across multiple lanes to try to make the exit at the last second, or cross over the median to turn around. All of these maneuvers are illegal and extremely dangerous. When in a travel lane on the roadway, A. You may stop to drop off passengers. B. You may stop to look up an address. C. You may make a U-turn or back up if you get on the wrong entrance ramp of the freeway. D. Don't stop for any reason. Keep moving until you can safely pull off the road. D. Don't stop for any reason. Keep moving until you can safely pull off the road. You should not stop in a travel lane for any reason. Instead, keep moving until you can safely pull off of the road. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up. Go to the next turn or exit or where you can safely turn around. If you have the legal right-of-way at an intersection, you should A. Assume other drivers will follow right-of-way laws. B. Wave other drivers forward before proceeding. C. Immediately move through the intersection. D. Check for traffic, pedestrians, and bicyclists before moving forward. D. Check for traffic, pedestrians, and bicyclists before moving forward. Do not rely on traffic signals or signs to guarantee that right-of-way laws will be followed. Some drivers may not see or respond correctly to traffic signals. Use your best judgment when crossing an intersection. When making a turn, you should A. Look at any vegetation blocking your line of sight. B. Look as far around the bend as possible. C. Watch only the cars behind you. D. Watch only oncoming traffic. B. Look as far around the bend as possible. When turning, look as far ahead as possible in the direction you want to go. You'll have more time to react if there's an obstacle ahead and the process of turning will be much smoother. You are involved in an accident. You should A. Stop immediately. B. Help the injured. C. Call the police. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. If involved in an accident, you should stop your vehicle immediately. If possible, move the vehicle out of the way of traffic. Call the nearest police agency and ask for an ambulance, if necessary. Do not move the injured unnecessarily, but attempt to stop severe bleeding with direct pressure. Wait for emergency vehicles to arrive. Drive below the posted speed limit when A. Anything makes conditions less than perfect. B. You see a police car. C. Entering a highway where there are other cars. D. You are on a 4-lane road. A. Anything makes conditions less than perfect. When the road is wet or slippery, when you cannot see well, or when anything else makes conditions less than perfect, drive below the posted speed limit. Even if you are driving within the posted speed limit, you can still be ticketed for driving too fast for conditions. This road sign means A. Side road. B. Keep to the side indicated by the arrow. C. You may drive in the left lane. D. You have the right of way. B. Keep to the side indicated by the arrow. This is a keep right sign. It indicates that a traffic island, median, or barrier is ahead and that drivers must keep to the right of it. A fully loaded tractor-trailer traveling at 55 miles per hour could take up to fill in the blank to come to a complete stop. A. 50 feet. B. 125 feet. C. 400 feet. D. 750 feet. C. 400 feet. Tractor-trailers take longer distances to stop than smaller cars traveling at the same speed. A fully loaded tractor-trailer may take almost 400 feet to come to a complete stop when driving at 55 miles per hour. Which is the most common cause of traffic crashes? A. New drivers. B. Human error. C. Bad weather. D. Bad roads. B. Human error. Crashes often occur when one driver does not see another vehicle or when a driver does something unexpected. Communicate with other drivers on the road to help prevent traffic crashes. A double solid yellow line down the center of a two-lane road indicates A. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are not permitted to pass. B. Lanes are moving in opposite directions and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. C. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are not permitted to pass. D. Lanes are moving in the same direction and drivers are permitted to pass when it is safe to do so. When you hear a fire engine siren behind you, you must A. Slow down until it passes you. B. Drive with your flashers on. C. Pull over to the side of the road and stop. D. Speed up and take the nearest exit. C. Pull over to the side of the road and stop. When you hear the siren of an emergency vehicle, you must pull over to the curb or side of the road and stop. This road sign means A. School crossing. B. Pedestrian crossing. C. Jogging trail. D. Busy sidewalk. B. Pedestrian crossing. This sign indicates the presence of a pedestrian crossing. You should watch for people entering a crosswalk or crossing your path. Slow down and be prepared to stop. When two vehicles enter an intersection from different highways at the same time, which vehicle must yield the right-of-way? A. Either one. B. The vehicle on the left. C. The vehicle on the right. D. Neither. B. The vehicle on the left. At intersections that are controlled by signs or signals and at intersections that are uncontrolled, the driver on the left must yield the right-of-way to the driver on the right when two vehicles arrive to the intersection at the same time. When you hear the siren or see the flashing lights of an approaching emergency vehicle, you must A. Slow down until it passes you. B. Drive to the right side of the road and stop. C. Motion for the emergency vehicle to pass you. D. Merge into the right lane and continue driving. B. Drive to the right side of the road and stop. Yield the right-of-way to any approaching emergency vehicle that is using its flashing lights or siren, regardless of its direction of travel. You must immediately drive to the right side of the road and stop until the emergency vehicle has passed. If you are within an intersection, pass through the intersection before coming to a stop on the right side of the road. When driving on roads that may be slippery. A. Always drive at the maximum speed limit. B. Use cruise control to maintain a steady speed. C. Reduce your following distance. D. Do not make any sudden changes in speed or direction. D. Do not make any sudden changes in speed or direction. You should avoid making any sudden changes in speed or direction when driving on a slippery surface. Reduce your speed on slippery roads and do not use cruise control.